Thank you, Tony. It is my pleasure to introduce the co-founder of the Myers Lawson School of Construction, Ross Myers, who is chairman and CEO of Allan Myers, the leading heavy civil construction and construction materials company in the Mid-Atlantic. They're headquartered in Philly, and Allan Myers consistently ranks in the top of ENR's annual top 400 U.S. contractors list, the top 50 heavy and highway contractors, and the top 200 environmental engineering and construction companies. Under Ross's leadership, I'm going off script, the company has truly developed a safety culture. He's a mentor to me, has been for many years. And I will say, I'll go on record as saying, I've met a lot of CEOs in my time, and none have been as passionate about safety and safety culture as Ross Myers. So, my friend, the next 30 minutes or so are yours.
Anyway, I was in Naples. It was 80 degrees. The sun was out, and here I am. But why I'm so excited to be here is, as Brian says, I'm very passionate about construction workers. I was one of them. I started out repairing bulldozers in my grandfather's shop when I was 9. And I was running equipment probably by the time I was 12, and by the time I was 15, I was running a driveway paving crew. And I guess I just have a certain affinity for a construction worker. We see them along the street, and people sometimes look down at them, hear all kinds of things. And I can tell you that to be a good construction worker, you have to be really smart. You have to have a lot of common sense. And you have to be an industrial athlete. Because their careers, they're not playing pro football and have a 5-year shelf life. They're doing it for 40, 50 years. And it takes a special breed of person to love that, to love being outside, to endure the heat, to endure the cold weather, the wet weather, the mud, the dirt, and build the amazing things they build. Because to me, I look at my company a little different than maybe most people, but to me, I work for them. I work for the guys at the work face and the gals at the work face. And my primary job, I believe, I got 2 jobs. One is to keep them in work. Right? We all need a paycheck. It's to keep them in work. And then once they're at work, my job's to make sure they get home safe that night, every night to their families, or every morning to their families. Because we do a lot of our work 7/24. And I think if I can accomplish those 2 things, we might have a decent chance of being a pretty good company. But to me, and I've always felt this way, making money, profit, is just a sum total of doing 1,000 things really well. Right? And to me, the first couple hundred are all about safe. A little bit about our company. I got to get an advertisement in, right? That's an ad in an engineering news record. second largest highway contractor last year. I'm not sure that's a good thing, but we were in the US. We typically rank in the top 20 in transportation, top 10 in highway, and top 20 in domestic heavy contractors. We're also one of the 10th largest producers of asphalt in the United States. And you can see by our map, our strategy is our friends, the Walsh and Archer Western in here, they're different than us. They travel all over the place for big work. We take an opposite strategy. And our strategy is we want to make sure our workers can get home every night to their families, or at least 90% of them. And to do that, we kind of work in circles, radiuses of our offices and asphalt plants. And so rather than being all over the US and chasing big projects, we've got a pretty compact little thing going with about 3,000 men and women on 25 asphalt plants, 6 quarries, all in the Mid-Atlantic. And we like it that way because if we get in trouble, we can help each other out. So that's what we do. It makes us the largest civil contractor in the Mid-Atlantic and the largest asphalt paver in the Mid-Atlantic. And that was by design. We started on this project about 40 years ago. And you can ask me questions as we go along. Anybody have any questions so far? Pardon? How do I feel?
CEO.
Well, how do I feel? Right? Is that the question? Well, I'm 75 years old and I feel great. Yeah, I get up every morning and just feel very blessed that I work with a bunch of great people. Mm-hmm. Well, I think I would tell any young person that the number 1, 2, and 3 secret to success is hard work. I mean, there's all kinds of books. There's this on how to get ahead, how to be successful, how to do this, how to do that. At the end of the day, if you have passion for what you do and you're willing to commit to doing it as well as you can, and outwork the next person or the competition, and you do that over a period of time, it adds up. I also have a little thing I do every night. Before I go to bed, I stand in the mirror, stand in front of the mirror in my bathroom for 5 minutes. And I ask myself 2 questions. What did you screw up today? And I answer myself. And then I ask myself, what are you going to do tomorrow different that's going to make you better? 2 questions every night, 5 minutes. I started out with my father paving driveways. We had 8 people. So it's been a lot of fun. Yes.
How did you create the great safety culture that your company had? I've been on your job site multiple times. I've talked with many of your safety managers. They think you personally care for them and they love working with you and they love being safe. So how did you create that?
You just stole my talk. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. Yeah. Directly to your question, we care about people, not projects. It's all about people. We happen to build projects for a living. That's how we make our money. And we love doing that. We're builders, right? That's what we do. But at the end of the day, I say we're a family-owned business and we're a business-owned family. We're just, we didn't pay them to smile. I'll just put it that way. We work very hard to make sure that our people do have what they need to do their job properly in terms of training and equipment. And we are passionate about that picture in the lower left-hand corner. Okay. When you look at that picture, what do you think of? Pardon?
Coming back.
Yeah, getting home to family, right? They're two of my grandkids. All right. Yeah. Thank you. So we really work hard at and believe that, you know, the power of our company goes home every night. You know, you saw the map, you know, we can brag about 6 quarries, 25 asphalt plants, 3,000 the best construction professionals, blah, blah, blah. You know, at the end of the day, the secret sauce of Allan Myers is walks on 2 feet and it goes home every night. And it's our job to make sure they get home healthy. We also take it on as our job to make sure that as industrial athletes, they can last 40 years in the business. And that's a different job. Yeah. We do about 72% of our own work on every project, self-perform. We believe in self-performance, self-reliance. We like highly complex projects that are closely coupled, that have very difficult schedules. That gets us kind of excited. And that's what we're good at. It takes great people to do that. It takes commitment. Because most of our, especially our highway jobs, are working 7/24. You've probably all seen this. I just want to punch it up for a minute. The top red line is the fatality line. The blue is the industry average and incident rate, and the orange is Allan Myers' incident rate. I'm going to tell you about something that happened to me and us in 2007 that changed our trajectory about safety, what we believed about it. Okay. And during that journey, we've decreased our injury by 90% since 2007. The industry as a whole has done pretty good too. It's cut their industry rate in half. But the puzzling thing for me, hopefully everybody in the room, is that fatality rates aren't changing. We're still killing as many people as we ever have, even though injury rates are going down. Going to go back to this slide. 2007, something happened that changed what I believed. 2006, we won the National Utility Contractors National Award for Safety. National Award. Probably a couple of us had sore shoulders from patting ourselves on the back. Look at us, right? How good we are. Insurance company said had their best safety record, blah, blah, blah. We looked at it as a source of pride. We had a good safety program. We did all the textbook things. The training, the safety managers, all the stuff. I call it the OSHA stuff. We did all the OSHA stuff. And we're winning awards, getting accolades from an insurance company. And then that one night, something happened that changed my beliefs about safety. I'm sure everybody in this room, I know a lot of you are teaching our young people. A lot of you are working with our young people. So it affects everybody, but I'm sure we've all had young people in our classes or that have come to work for us that were just special. Is that fair? You know, you might have 25 in the room, but maybe there's one or two that are just really something. They're all great, but there's just a couple that tug at your heartstrings. Fair? We had a young man by the name of Kyle. Kyle was 2 years out of college, structure management major. And he was one of those young people from local boy. From the time he was 15, all he wanted to do was work for Allan Myers. Came to work for Allan Myers as soon as we would hire him. While I was in college, I think he was a freshman when we first hired him. He worked for us during the summers. As soon as he got out, all he wanted to do was come to work for Allan Myers. Everybody loved this guy. Why? Because it's just a great human being. You know, we talk about hard work. You know, work ethic was unbelievable for a young person. Smart, willing, committed. 2 years out of school, he was a transportation manager on a $300 million highway project. He was in charge of all the logistics on the whole job. 24 years old. That's a big job for somebody that age. We were probably running day and night, 300 trucks a day. Pretty busy job, right? And we moved most of our equipment. Every once in a while, you get into a jam, you have to rent. We had approved sources for that. One afternoon, we couldn't move all the equipment that we had to move. Towards the end of the job, you know, liquidated damages, all the stuff. Everybody's getting tight. Everybody's in a hurry. Everybody's feeling pressure. We're working 7 days a week. Kyle didn't have enough low beds to move the equipment for that night. So he calls up a friend of his. It was had a great low bed business. Got one of his low beds. And it was a very difficult job, a lot of in and out stuff. So Kyle says, because he's a great young man, I'll stay tonight. I'll ride with you and I'll help you because I know you don't know where everything goes, and I'll ride with you and keep you safe. Great. They had just gotten all the equipment moved. They were unloading the last piece. It was about 4 o'clock in the morning. It was raining. It was in the fall. You're trying to get done before Thanksgiving. And couldn't see real well. the low bed driver, when he was unloading a large hydraulic excavator, couldn't see out the window. So he did what any good person would do. He stood up to open the window so he could see, to be safe to unload the equipment. When he did that, his sleeve caught on the controls. Machine spun around. The bucket hit a portable light plant. We all know what light plants are, right? They're probably 40, 50 feet in the air and have all kinds of floodlights over them. Bucket hits the mast, the light plant comes over. Kyle, we believe, was talking on the phone, trying to make sure everybody was okay somewhere. He's always worried about everybody else. Gets hit by the light plant between the base of his skull and his neck. It severs his spinal cord. Clean. 24 years old. Just engaged. Now, I've lived through serious injury before, and I've lived through fatality before, but I never experienced a young man that everybody loved being a quadriplegic for the rest of his life. We immediately, after the accident, we immediately medvac Kyle to the best trauma center in Philadelphia. He was in Jefferson Hospital and what they call this, spinal cord unit. Anybody have a teenage son or daughter that wants to ride a motorcycle? Well, if you ever do, or a grandson that wants to ride a motorcycle, take them to the closest spinal cord trauma center. Every city has one. Most of the patients in there are motorcycle victims. In a trauma care unit, the first thing they do once they get you there and stabilize you is they drill holes in the top, shave your head, drill holes in your skull, attach a plate to it, do the same thing with the bones in your feet, and they put you on a spit. When I walked into that hospital to see Kyle, to make sure he was getting the best treatment in the world, I saw a young man, 24 years old, in the prime of his life, just engaged, with screws in his head and his feet on a shaft. And I got to tell you, I lost it. I struggled with it for, meanwhile, we got to get the job done. We have the best doctors we can find anywhere in the world flying in to work on Kyle. But I wasn't. When you say, how do I feel being a CEO? Then, you know how I felt? I walked into my executive team, we meet every Monday. And I walked in, I said, I can't do this anymore. I just can't. And they all to a person in the room, said, you got it. You got to do it. You're the right guy to fix it. And with their help, we started to tack it. And what was hard for us was we thought we were good at safety. And we went to other contractors for help, or anybody we could find for help in the construction industry. The answer we got was, how are we going to help you guys? You're the leaders. You're one of the best. I said, well, best isn't good enough. When you got a 24-year-old young man, one of the nicest persons you would ever meet in your life, on a spit. We talked to a lot of people, and what we found was that the petrochemical industry has probably the best safety protocols and zero tolerance for injury of any industry. Understandably so. You know, if a crane collapses, might kill a person or two, right? If a plant blows up, it could wipe out a whole town. So they have a whole different way of looking at safety, or at least at the time. I said, well, let's go outside the industry and try to find the answer. So we hired the best petrochemical industry consultants we could find in safety, and we worked with them. We're still working with them. And what was remarkable was after they came in, they did their surveys, and boy, are these guys ever expensive if you've ever used them. They can rip through $1 million so quick and make your head spin. But we did all kinds of surveys and all kinds of interviews and all kinds of everything. And they came back and we met, said, you do everything right, but you do everything wrong. We're like, well, what's that mean? Said, everybody thinks that it's all about training, that it's all about OSHA 10s and OSHA 20s and OSHA 30s and taking tests. So, and these consultants work all over the world on these large petrochemical jobs that sometimes have up to 50,000 people working them, some of the larger ones in India and China. They said, the people that work for you are smart. They know what they're doing. They're as well trained as we've ever seen. What we've learned is it's not what they know that counts. What they really want to know from you is, how much do you care about them? So instead of having OSHA safety seminars, we started having picnics, family picnics, right? Family picnics. Bring your family. We started having walls in trailers and walls at the entrances of projects where everybody would put a picture of their favorite thing, whether it was their motorcycle, their dog, or their 5 kids. Because what we learned is getting everybody home safe every night isn't a technical thing, it's an emotional thing. It's figuring out how do you connect this with this. How do we connect what we know with what we care about? And our way of doing that were those 3 words. Home safe tonight. 3 words. Keep it simple. So we started talking about what was really important was we want and need you to care enough about yourself, okay, that you're going to be responsible to get yourself home to your family, safe and uninjured every night, and that you care enough about your team to have their backs. And that's what we worked on. And that's what we've been working on since 2007. The technical stuff's important. You know, trench boxes are good. You got to be tied off. You got to do all the stuff. But at the end of the day, people that don't feel cared about don't care about themselves sometimes enough that they're going to do the right thing every time. Does that make sense? We just bought our own food trailers, right? With chefs. So we can go out and personally cook food for barbecues rather than just bring pizzas. They love it. They think that's the coolest thing in the world when they had a good week and the trailer pulls up and the chef's in there been cooking all night, cooking barbecue for them. You know? What do we talk about at lunch? Families. How's your family? You know? I'm going to have a safety seminar. You know the safety stuff. We'll bring in a couple days a year for that. How's your family? How are you doing? I think I'll just stick with this one. We're going to talk about a couple more subjects. Or concepts, I guess. One of the concepts we use is safety is integral to operations. It's not separate. At the highest level, safety has to be built in. Has to be built in the design. You know? When we're fortunate enough to be doing design build and we control the design, we have a safety professional with the design. All of our planning meetings, safety is not a separate subject. Everybody in that room is planning their schedule and their operations for the safest outcome. And if it's not the safest outcome, they have to keep planning. There's 3 words in the center. We've been using that for 25 years now. We haven't changed the word. And it's pretty much the sum total of our culture. We want to be better. We want to be owner's contractor choice. We want to be our workers' employer choice. Faster. So we're always looking for efficiency. Every day. But we don't go to work until people say, why'd you put safety on the bottom? I said, that's not on the bottom, that's the foundation. It's the foundation of the pyramid. And it doesn't say safer, does it? Because safer is not good enough. It's got to be 100%, or you go back and replan. We're a crew-based company. Pretty much everything's done at the work face with the crew. We pay our crews for a safety huddle before the shift, and we pay them after the shift. So 2 huddles a day, minimum of 15 minutes a huddle. So we're paying a half an hour a day, which usually ends up being your overtime, for all of our workers to be reviewing the plan and buying into the plan before they start that day. The end of shift huddle is pretty quick. It's thanks for your hard work today. Congratulations, everybody's going home safe. Here are the things we're going to be doing tomorrow. Think about them a little bit overnight. And I want your best ideas in the morning, your best thinking in the morning. And then you come in the huddle in the morning, you talk about the plan. Every worker is responsible to give their input. If they got a better idea, let's hear it. If they don't think it's going to work or not going to be 100% safe, they stand there in that huddle till they figure it out. It's the backbone of our safety culture. And what we find is when you pay them to be using their mind and not only their back, they become different employees. They're different workers because now they own the plant. Does that make sense? Couple of things real quick and I'll sit down. I'm probably over time now. Something we started about 7 years ago. I lost a 21-year-old stepson to suicide 35 years ago. If you've ever experienced it, it does change your life. It's something you never really get over. And we started working on this 7 years ago because what I realized was in my life, I've attended more funerals of employees for suicide than for construction industry or construction injury, excuse me. Okay. By a lot. When I started looking into it, 5 times more construction workers die every year from suicide than they do from construction. They're in one of the most dangerous businesses in the world. They survive that. And suicide takes them. So we started working on it. And if you think about it, it's a very stressful industry. Especially highway jobs and traffic, which is our specialty. Extremely stressful. Long hours, a lot of nights. In a lot of cases, workers might be working away from home. We try to minimize that, but in most construction companies, that's impossible. The more I get into this, the more I believe that most construction accidents have some form of mental illness, mental stress, depression, something attached to them. When people stop feeling good about themselves, they don't take care of themselves the same way. They take chances. They take risks. So this one is kind of the new frontier for us. What have we done about it? Well, the first thing we did was say we're going to have, we started Construction Safety Week, geez, I guess 15 years ago now. And it really has taken off to where there's over 1 million people involved every year in Construction Safety Week. I said, well, let's do the same thing with mental wellness. So we started our own mental wellness week. And I think as of last year, we had about 300,000 employees all over, not our employees, but nationwide participating in it. And basically, it's just like Safety Week, where we pick a different subject every day to talk about with the crew. We do the same thing with mental wellness. Yeah. It was really interesting. The first year we did it, it was crickets. Nobody wanted to talk about it, right? It was like this taboo subject. We're 7 years into it. Some of the conversations are amazing. People are starting to open up. They're sharing their own experiences. They're sharing their experiences of their families, teenagers, wives. It's changed the way we think it, we look at each other and care about each other. We've added, we looked into it. Psychiatry and therapy is very difficult to get today in our workspace. Sometimes it can, if you're depressed, you could wait in the state of Pennsylvania 6 months for an appointment. All right. A lot can happen in 6 months, right? So we've been looking for different things. Talk-based counseling and psychiatry. Most of it's done on an iPad or a phone. Workers don't want to take the day off. They don't want to go to their boss and say, I've got an appointment with a psychiatrist this afternoon. I'm taking off early. They really love this. And they use it. We also make it available to anybody in their family under 13 and over. And I would say by now I know we've saved over a dozen teenagers with this policy. We send refrigerator magnets home with Talkspace. We send keychains home to give teenagers. We really try to work at making sure the whole family's involved in this. We have a ground crew. We had a bunch of volunteers that really care about the subject, superintendents, field managers, accountants, estimators that have actually on their own time taken coursework and are now certified helpers in this area to just help people through what they're going through, make sure they get to the right people for help, just as they're kind of their guides. And the peer-to-peer thing really seems to be working well. It's much more comfortable for somebody to have that conversation with a peer than their boss. So that seems to be working really well. We looked at our employee assistance plans and really shredded them apart. Most employee assistance plans today don't have very good mental wellness coverage. Most plans today have great, hospitalization and medical coverage, but when it comes to all the other stuff we deal with, most plans are pretty lacking. We've worked really hard over the last 7 years to make ours continually better every year, and it's very important that those plans are good, because that's sometimes the first and last contact for that person. We've put wellness coaches on the ground, boots on the ground. So we have wellness coaches visiting our construction sites full time. I think we're up to 6 or 7 wellness coaches in the company that just spend all their time visiting jobs, getting to know our guys, and helping them through what they're going through, or helping somebody in their family through what they're going through. And we do toolbox talks because it's a subject it's not like safety where everybody has something they want to talk about. Mental wellness, you gotta kind of box it up for them, get them started. And once they get started, it's pretty cool. I want to share one story, and I'm done. I'll take questions. But last year, I was out on one of my sites. My favorite thing to do is still get out in the field and get muddy boots and hang out with the guys and gals. But I was on a site, and utility crew were laying pretty big water pipe. I think it was like 62-inch water pipe, about 30 feet in the ground. So it was a pretty cool operation to watch. And the hydraulic excavator operator on a crew like that's probably the most important person. And the guy in this crew, I'd known him for probably 20 years, and great guy, probably one of the best operators I've ever seen. And he wasn't running his excavator, he was standing off the side. And I went over and I'm joking with him, what you do, lose your job, just joking with him. And he kind of looked at me, he's teared up. He said, I'm sitting it out today. And I said, all right, what's going on? He said, well, he came in the morning, and in the huddle, said, I shared with the crew that my wife left me last night. We all got together and said, Jack, you're sitting it out today. We got your back. You're getting paid. We're going to work done today, but we want you to be safe. To me, that's a victory. That's a victory. Because a distracted hoe operator on a 200,000-pound rig, working 30 feet deep, it can wreak havoc. And it didn't take a supervisor. It took the crew at it. They're operating as a family, right? They're taking care of each other. And when you can get that kind of atmosphere going, no matter how difficult the work is, people can go home safe every night. I challenge all of you to think about a couple stories I shared with you. Think about how you can impact the young people you work with. And together, we've all made a big difference in this industry since I started. And I know we're going to keep doing that. Thanks for your time. Sure.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate it. That you kind of touched on, and it's an idea that we're exploring for research. The story of Kyle, very impactful for you, obviously, and also for your company. And made his story for Jack, the equipment operator. And I would characterize that as a defining moment, if I use that term. And so exploring how we create ethically those defining moments in people so that they make the switch also without going through that fatality. Or within our students in our classroom, how do we create those defining moments ethically, right? We can't hurt anybody.
Right.
But then that makes them change their perspective towards safety. And if you have some guidance, and I don't know if anybody here in the room has that guidance of how do we create that in our workers, and then in our students to mentally make that shift and put safety first. I don't know if you've thought about that.
That's good. Great question. Something that we've done quite successfully, and it takes the consent of the injured worker, is to get them to go out and talk. Get them to talk about it with other crews or other companies. You know, and that's very impactful. If you can, not everybody will do it. We don't make them do it. It's not a punishment, but if we think it's the right person in the right situation, we'll ask them to share their story. And, you know, coming from them directly peer to peer has a big impact. But it's a great point. It's horrible when you have to have a terrible tragedy to figure something out, right?
Maybe we can do that in our classroom. I guess. Bring someone in who's experienced an incident.
Yeah.
And maybe that'll change the minds of the students.
Yeah, there's actually some very good video out there right now that I think could be very effective for you. And I'll get some of that to Brian and he can share it. But one of the things we also try to get people to talk about is the impact it had on their family. Because, you know, a serious construction industry just doesn't affect one person. It affects the whole family. And it affects the work family.